Hi there, everybody. John Gums here with Dakota Grappler. Having a fun night here because we got two great guests. We got Terry Steiner, old friend, good buddy, and he's going to talk a lot about USA wrestling. He just came from the US Open, and so he's got to see some great wrestling. He's actually sitting with some, he told me with Zadok and with Frazier, I think, in the airport in Dallas, and he's heading back toward Denver yet tonight, so I'm glad he could hop on. And then our person way off to the right on my screen is Mark Lardy. He is the co-head coach at Bismarck High, who they are right now #1 in the state of North Dakota. Just come back, and they've won their third tournament in a row. They won the Mandan Lions tournament. They won the Rapid City tournament, which was a huge tournament. And then they just got done beating everybody pretty solid at Valley City. Beat both the Class A talent and the #1 Class B team, Lisbon, pretty handily. So we're going to talk a little bit of wrestling tonight. And I'm going to start off with Terry, introduce himself, and then we'll go to Mark. Terry, introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Terry Steiner. I'm currently U.S. Women's National Team coach, and I was pleasure to get back and in touch with what's happening in North Dakota. So.
Okay, and then we got Mark on the. Let's introduce yourself, Mark.
Yeah, Mark Lardy, co-head coach at Bismarck High. Coach there along with Jeff Schumacher, and yeah, I'm just glad to be on the show.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask Terry a quick question first, and I'm going to go way back in history. What is the first memory you have of wrestling? Going back.
Oh man, I think I was as far as competition, I think I was in kindergarten, and the state freestyle championships at that time was USA Wrestling Federation, and which is now USA Wrestling, but USA Wrestling Federation had their state championship, and it was up at Bismarck Junior College, and at the time, I remember wrestling Monty Trusty, and just being there at that tournament and being really afraid of the sport. Right, I think I was pretty immature, just mentality wise, and I think just being afraid to step on that competition mat. I remember it being traumatizing, coming to the edge of the mat and didn't want to go back out there for the second half of the match, and my dad just said, no, we're going to finish what we start, and shoved me back out there, and I ended up being good. I ended up winning the tournament, but it wasn't love at first sight for sure, and but that was probably my first recollection of.
Okay, I'm going to pop one more person in. I've got Bill Holton coming on the side, so we got 4 of us here now. Second, there I've got Bill. Bill's my college guru. He's from Carrington. You got Terry Steiner up there. You can wave to them, and Mark Lardy. So Bill will have some questions along the way. Bill and I have had a pretty good friendship coming into the season, and his knowledge in wrestling is phenomenal. In fact, he'll know the U.S. Open probably as good as you, even though you were there, Terry.
No, that's a stretch.
Yeah. But Mark, that's the first question I want to ask you too. What's your first recollection of you remembering wrestling?
Well, it was probably I wrestled in grade school, probably first or second grade. I had older brothers that wrestled. So my elementary coach, my first elementary coach was Clay Nagel, who ended up out in Frazee and had an excellent coaching career out in Frazee. But yeah, just being around with my older brothers. So
tell people where you grew up.
I grew up in Beach, North Dakota.
Okay. And Beach is a hotbed of wrestling?
Well, we had some strong teams back in the 90s, but now they're in a co-op with Bowman, so they're trying to get their feet back on the ground. They got a good youth program out there going right now. They got some pretty good numbers in their youth program, and maybe someday they'll get a program of their own again. So,
oh yeah, they've had actually a very good team the last half dozen years. It takes a lot of work in those small towns, and they've done a great job there. Yeah. Definitely Beach and Bowman together. And then on the far side, I'll have him introduce himself real quick. Bill, fire away.
Bill Holton here, from the Carrington, North Dakota area, or living here now. Grew up in Fargo. Actually started my wrestling career in Grand Forks. I probably never said that before. I did lived in Grand Forks. I was a freshman in high school. So I, started in the elementary program and then was able to have some coaching in the summertime from Vic Ames and and Dwayne Hennessy, some of the Hall of Famers from the past. But just a big wrestling fan. Love the sport. Follow mostly college these days, but a lot of Class B also, and the senior level when it's on.
Definitely. Well, I'm John Gums. I'm the owner and editor of Dakota Grappler. Been wrestling my whole life. My first memory of wrestling is basically my dad in Garrison was head wrestling coach. And he put me out on the mat. And by the age of 2 and 3, I was doing sit-outs by myself, do a bunch of sit-outs in a circle, spin around and switches and stand-ups. And they'd have me kind of as a halftime show for some of the wrestling stuff as a little kid. And then moved from Garrison when I was about kindergarten age, 4 or 5 years old, and moved to Napoleon, that's where I got to meet Terry and Troy many, many times. I always remember Terry. The first time I actually remember Terry was actually in the Linton tournament when we were probably about 6 years old, and I saw him running around with some Hills and Diggers from Linton, and they happened to be his uncles, and it was kind of our you want to say enemy, but our main competition in Napoleon was Linton in those years, and so I remember them running around, and there were 2 of them. And trying to figure out who was who to begin with. And it took me probably a good couple of years to figure out who's Terry and who's Troy. But people still ask me which is which when I see them. But I just know who they are. I don't know. Everybody else has had that same problem. But great.
I'm better looking one.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. No. And then I remember first time I remember Mark, actually, for some reason, the first time I remember was coaching an Oak. And so I don't have an earlier memory of Mark for some reason, but I got to know him, and he did a great job. And in fact, he won a state championship down in Oak. So Mark's got some head coaching experience before he was at Bismarck High, and really had to work the ranks to get up at Bismarck High because you did the junior high for many, many years. Tell us a little bit, Mark, about your stuff. Oh, he looks like he might be froze. Sorry, Mark. He hasn't moved for a couple minutes. Okay, I'll get back to you, Mark. Quick question for you, Terry. Let's go right to the U.S. national stuff because I know I'm going to try to make it short tonight. What was some of the stuff that was impressive going to that tournament this year?
Well, I mean, from the women's side of it, there was a lot of great things. I mean, we didn't have a lot of our pre-qualified athletes already here, so the athletes that already qualified were either world team members from the past 4 years, from 2017, 18, or 19, I guess the last 3 years. If they were a world team member at the senior level, they were already qualified. If they were a junior world silver medalist or gold medalist, they were already qualified. And then the winners of the New York Athletic Club tournament qualified last month. So those athletes didn't have to be here. If they wanted to be here, they could. And then the significance of this competition was the top 5 athletes qualified into the final trial. So that's what everyone was shooting for. But, you know, what was interesting to me, we've had such good growth and movement on the women's side of things around our country the last, 3 to 4 years. And this competition was the first time ever that the women's tournament had more numbers than the men's side of it. And that, that's pretty significant for the sport of women's wrestling to have those kind of numbers. And our weight classes were around, some of the weights had 27, 28 people in them. And that's pretty significant.
That's huge.
That kind of a turnout in the middle of the college season and everything like that. So we're really happy with that. And it just shows where we're at as a country and where we're moving as a country in the sport of women's wrestling.
Yeah, definitely. Another question for you. How many of those then choose to come train with you later on, or how does that work?
Well, I mean, for the most part, a lion's share of our athletes right now are younger, developing athletes are in our college programs. Right? And we have, the numbers came out just as of November 30th, we have 71 college programs right now. And that's not any division. Well, we have one Division I school, Providence, out in South Carolina. But other than that, they're really the small enrollment-driven schools around the country that have added and continue to add programs. And we're on the verge of emerging, or we have emerging sports status with the NCAA, but now the Division I, Division II, and Division III committees have to approve that. And so that's where it's at right now. But we have full confidence that that's going to be approved later on or early next year. And so once that's approved, then it's, then what happens, the significance of that is then all the women's numbers count towards the gender equity.
Okay.
And right now, if a college program adds women's wrestling, they do it, but it doesn't count towards that Title IX and that gender equity quotient. So once we gain emerging sports status, then a college can add women's numbers and the women's wrestling program, and it'll help towards that Title IX, which is very significant. And so, we're just in a great spot. We've had a lot of great movement the last couple of years, especially. Even that's at the college level. At the high school level, in 2 years, we've went from 6 states that are sanctioned as a female sport at the state level to 20.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're at 20 states right now that have sanctioned the sport of women's wrestling, or in that direction have I guess signed the documents that they're going to in the next year or so. So again, that's significant. We don't think that's going to slow down anytime soon. That's going to continue on. And so, we really like where we're at. And from a national team perspective, that just helps, right? I mean, the more numbers we have, the more talent we have, the better our national team is going to be. And so we really feel very fortunate for the movement we've had.
Right. Explain to these people how many wrestle at the international level, how many weight classes, and how many are at the Olympic for the females.
Okay, so and this is across the board for men's wrestling, men's freestyle, Greco-Roman, and women's freestyle. There's 10 weight classes at the World Championships every year, almost every tournament. But the Pan American Games and the Olympic Games are 6 weight classes. And so that's what we're all fighting for right now. They're all fighting to make the Olympic team. It's one of 6 weight classes. And so, that's not an easy task. And what it does, it condenses everyone. And we have some pretty good battles right now within those weight classes to make our team, which is, again, as the national team coach, the more highly contested that is, the better it is. Right?
Okay.
Now,
I'll put you on the spot real quick. Is there any, let's say, name 3 girls that haven't been on the world team that really impressed you this tournament? Put you on the spot.
No, there's quite a few. I mean, really. I mean, Dominic Parrish won her first national title at 53 kilos. She's been knocking on that door. She's made a couple U23 world teams. Has won a couple college championships for Simon Fraser University. And now she just won her first U.S. Open national championship. So that's pretty impressive. We have a girl, Emma Bruntel, at 62 kilos, who won our Outstanding Wrestler Award this weekend, and really came in and has had a good couple months. She also beat our world medalist Mallory Velty at the New York Athletic Club tournament, and here she beat Macy Kilty in the semifinals. So Macy Kilty was cadet world champion, junior silver medalist for us, and it was a national team member for us last year at the senior level, and Emma beat her along the way and won senior open. So Emma's really shown a lot of promise. I guess another person would be Precious Bell, who's won an NAIA championship last year, and she just has such an interesting story. Precious grew up in foster homes, and really wrestling has been her savior, and has given her a direction and a purpose and a reason to fight for something higher, and to see her climb. She won the Nationals last year without Adeline Gray in there. She won the Nationals last April, and now she just won it again in December here. So she's, really, 2 years ago at College Nationals at the WCWA, she was in 5th place. And now she's the senior open champion twice. And so just to see that growth in people is really why we do what we do, right? You see that growth and how it's helping them develop as human beings. And it's pretty special just seeing it happen right in front of you.
Okay. Well, Bill, you have any questions for me before I want to talk to Mark a little bit about his wrestling team?
Well, I do. I guess the numbers of the athletes that are going to be competing at the Olympic trials, is that the exact same process for all three styles? And how does kind of that number come about?
It's not the exact same process. Because we actually, for the women's side, we have 3 other qualifiers yet, but 2 of them are only for college athletes. One is the NEIA Invitational Champion that's held in Jamestown,
Yep.
March 15th-ish, something like that. That's a qualifier, the winner of that championship. And then the winner of the WCWA, the other college championship right now, the winner of that also qualifies into the Olympic trials. And then there's a last chance qualifier the week before the Olympic trials in Pennsylvania, and the top 2 from there qualify. And that's the same across all 3 styles, the last chance qualifier. I believe for the other styles, I think for Greco, the only other people that qualify from here on out are NCAA champions.
Right. Yeah, and the last chance qualifier. Yeah.
But I'm not quite sure on that. I mean, we do have different processes, but the numbers are capped, right? For a reason, because to get everything on television, the numbers had to be capped to stay within the timelines. And we really don't. The Olympic trials aren't supposed to be a development tournament, right? It's about getting our best team on the mat at the Olympic Games. So we don't want numbers there that are 20 and 30 and 40 people. Right, we want the best of the best, and then go from there. Right, and so that's really what we're trying to do, is narrow that down. In the trials, we do have the best of the best going against each other.
Are there some weight classes that are still in flux as to current world team members that we aren't sure which weight they're going to go yet, or they're going up or down a weight class?
Really, they don't have to let us know. They can show up at the Olympic trials at whatever weight. They can qualify in at any weight. And then once they're qualified, they can move weight classes. So they could show up at a different weight class than they qualified in and things like that. And some of them want to keep that, secret and under the hat and kind of surprise everyone. But I think for the most part, we know where people are going. Especially on the women's side of it, we know where people are going and what direction they're headed. I think some of the men's freestyle, I think it's a little bit more discreet. I think where people are going to end up. But that'll, I'm sure, come out in time, right? I mean, I can't have that forever. I mean, people are going to, are just going to start to look different. Right? They're going to start to look bigger or smaller, especially in men's freestyle, because the weights are further apart. Right? And so I think that we'll start to see some of that just through the visual eye.
Well, one last thing, you mentioned that 62 kilogram weight class that Emma won. That weight class was loaded, so that's really a great win for her. I mean, they're deep in there with Maya Nelson and Macy Kilty and Julia Salata. Really, a lot of talented athletes that have been, kind of on that team for a few years, I assume.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and Emma's a young girl, right? She's going to get better and better. I mean, Macy Kilty's a young up and coming girl. I mean, those girls are continuing to rise, right? And same with, I would say, Maya Nelson. I'd put her in that group as well. They're young athletes, and then you have these veterans in there like Julia Salata and Kayla Miracle and Mallory Belty, who have kind of been in that weight class or been around the block a few times. They're not. It's going to be, whoever makes the team at that weight. I think we're going to be tested, and we're going to be really proven by the time we get to the Olympic Games. So, again, we couldn't be in a better situation. We want that kind of situation, right? I mean, that's how you win Olympic medals, is you go in tested.
Definitely. Okay. Well, thank you, Terry, for that part. Let's go to Mark. I want to talk to you a little bit. I'm glad you're back on. Tell us a little bit about how your season's going, those that are out there. Tell us what you're impressed. I was really impressed with LJ this weekend. And I was really impressed, again, with most of you guys in your team. You look in great shape. Go through your lineup a little bit for everybody out there and tell us how you've been doing.
Yeah. First of all, it's been a really fun season. We've had 3 big fairly big tournaments. The Lions tournament's always a fun. The format there is always great to get good matches. We were able to come out on top there, had a few champs, and just really felt that we wrestled above what our expectation was. And that's kind of been the theme throughout the start of the season is the kids we got on the team are really wrestling above the expectation that we had. And we had high expectations going in because we knew the talent we had, but we knew that they were kind of young. So we didn't think they'd be showing necessarily showing their cards necessarily this early, I would say. So the Rapid City tournament was really a good test for us. And I was really kind of surprised. I knew we'd finish top 4. I knew we'd be in top 4, but when we were kind of leading pretty much from the get-go, it was a nice surprise. Coach Chad Renner kind of challenged the guys in our pre-tournament meeting. He said, if you're a seeded guy, try and go out in this early in the first couple rounds, try and get some bonus points. And that was kind of the theme of that whole tournament, the Rapid tournament. There was kids picking up bonus points. I think every single one of the kids at some point got bonus points for the team. So really a great team effort. And the camaraderie that I'm seeing on this team is like none that I've been around. And that's I've been around some good teams, but this is a very close-knit team. So it's really fun to be around. Yesterday was no exception. It was the first time that we got to had LJ in the tournament. LJ is a 8th grader at Wachter, a very talented wrestler. We've had him in that pack, good talent level that he had, but just with the policies of Bismarck Public Schools, where we gotta let them finish their middle school season before we can bring them up. This is the first time that we had him in the lineup, and he was able to knock the number one ranked guy in the state off yesterday in an overtime match in the finals, 4-2, and just really looked impressive throughout the tournament and at the man-that duel when we had him in for the first time. Just super aggressive, almost to the point where you got to tame him down a little bit, but just very aggressive and just gets after it from the start of the matches. So fun to see that. We also got Noah Savajo, who was our starter. He got beat by LJ in the wrestle-offs this week, but he's definitely going to be an alternate for us, and I foresee him being a state place runner as well. He's had a good run. He's placed in every tournament that we've had him in, so I don't see any reason why we shouldn't have 2 state place winners at 106. 113 is Christian Tanafu. He had a tough finals match again yesterday. He wrestled that South Rank, I believe it's pronounced, from Aberdeen Central. He had him in the Rapid City finals. In the Rapid City finals, the Aberdeen kid, it was pretty one-sided. The Aberdeen kid kind of took it to us. And I think it ended up being a tech or a 14-point match. I can't remember, one of the two. But we really closed the gap this week. We were able to get to him and get some scoring done on our feet. So that was good to see. I think the final score yesterday was like 11-8 or something, like somewhere in that ballpark. So we really closed the gap. We'll get to see him one more time, probably at the Rotary. I think they're coming back to the Rotary. So I'm hoping to see him so we can see how much we can close the gap a little bit more. 120, we got Wilfred Tanafu. He's undefeated right now, and he's just wrestling extremely well. Extremely talented kid, extremely fast on his feet. Has really developed into a turner as well. He can turn kids now. Last couple of years, he was pretty green on top and bottom. His mat wrestling wasn't the greatest, but I would say this year he's really turned the corner. He's really I haven't looked at his stats lately, but he's definitely been getting some pins and lots of turns on top. So he's just become very much well-rounded. At 26, we got a freshman, Tate Olson. He's doing well for us. He's taken some lumps. It's a pretty tough weight class, so he's taken some lumps, but he's wrestling well, wrestling hard. 132 is Caden Renner, and he's a sophomore, and he's doing extremely well as well. Had a rough tournament down in Rapid City. He he got beat a couple times down there, but is really doing well. He's one of those surprises. I would say that we knew that in the end he was going to be at the end of the year. We thought he was going to be right up there in the possible finalist. He's really proven himself to. He's contending already. He's really pushing people when he gets out there and wrestles. It's a tough match with Fargo South kid yesterday. Got tossed for 5 2 times. He got caught in a double, trying to do a double leg. His arms were flared, and he got tossed to his back and for 5. So he did that in the first period, and then we battled back, and we had it down to like a 2-point match, and then we got him in the third in the finals, and we came back up to our, not in the finals, but came back to our feet and got caught again. So, just easy mistakes that we can clean up, and we can definitely improve from there. 38, we've got another young kid. We got 2. We got an Isaac Peterson, who's a freshman wrestling there. We also got Parker Benz, who's a junior. They kind of have been splitting time. They've been doing a number of wrestle-offs. Isaac was sick this week, so Parker was wrestling. He's doing well. Both are kind of a little green on the mat yet, so got some improvement to do there. 45 is Preston Fettig, 2 brothers. He's doing a nice job for us. He's had some tough matches. He wrestled Mandan, Connor Nelson. He's 1-1 with Connor Nelson, but he's definitely improving as we're moving along. So we're looking for big things from him. His brother's right above him. His younger brother is now bigger than him, and he's wrestling 152. And he had a fabulous tournament, a fabulous week, actually. He beat number 1 kid yesterday. He beat Noah Braun yesterday in the tournament, and then he turned around and beat Klein Connect for a 3rd time in 4 weeks. He wrestled 4 times in 3 weeks, and he's 3-1 with him. So Brock is really moving on, looking good. 160, we got a sophomore, Ben Nagel, hanging in there pretty steady. He's one that definitely by the end of the year we're hoping to have a place winner. And at 160, we also got a returning state champion that will probably be there, but he's still coming back off of an elbow injury. He ended up having 2 surgeries. He had 1 in May, 1 in August. And he's not in our lineup yet. We're hoping to see him back in the lineup mid-January. So then we're going to be looking for probably a spot where Ben will probably be an alternate somewhere, but definitely foresee Ben being a place winner as well. 170, we got Gage Roldson. He's his returning state placer from 2 years ago. He broke his neck at the Rumble on the Red last year. And he came back and wrestled the junior nationals this summer. Actually, one of the first matches he wrestled back was on the same mat that he broke his neck on about 6 months previous. So it's pretty neat to see that. But he's just been on fire this year. He's undefeated right now. He pinned his kid in the finals yesterday at Valley City. He beat a kid from pretty salty kid from Aberdeen in the finals, not Aberdeen, but Rapid City Central finals at the Rapid City tournament. 182, we got Isaiah Hughes. He's a sophomore for us. He lost to the 82-pounder from Windsor. I forget his name now, but he's just like number 6 ranked kid in this nation at 182, and he had him. It was like a 1-0 match going in the 3rd period. So it was he was definitely in the match, and he's going to be a fun one to watch. He's strong as an ox. He's built like a man, and he's only 16 years old. So Isaiah Hughes, I think, is a name that people will come to know in a few years. 95, we got Colin Glott. He's a senior, and he's really turned it on this year. Last couple years, he struggled. He's been in our lineup on and off, but this year he's definitely turned it on. He's placed in every tournament we've taken that we've been at. Yesterday, finished 3rd. Just really doing a nice job for us. 220, we got two different guys that have kind of been back and forth there. Jordan Schumacher has been in it for the most part. Ethan Stewart is another one. Ethan Stewart is a freshman. He's been sharing some time with Jordan. But Jordan, definitely it's nice to have him as a senior. He's working hard. Same kind of story as Colin. He's improved a ton. Hasn't seen the podium a whole lot. He got down the podium yesterday. Hopefully we can get him on the podium at the end of the year. And then our heavyweight has been either Braden Moran or Ethan Stewart has moved up from 220 and wrestled heavyweight from time to time. So we're kind of waiting to see where that one shakes out for us. But overall, like I said, just super impressed with how our team has been doing. It's been a fun first half of our year. We're looking for a good test at the Rumble on the Red coming up here at the end of the week. And then looking also forward to a little bit of time off so get some people healthy. So.
Yes. How many of your guys are you going to wrestle them all varsity in the Rumble?
No, we won't wrestle all of them. I'd say I think I entered probably 10 of them in the varsity level, and then some of the younger kids, freshmen, sophomores, we kept them in the
JV side because it's like a varsity tournament too.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. How about you? I never did ask you if you have any questions for Terry.
No, I'm good. I cannot. I'm not. I just don't follow the senior level a whole lot. I'm usually busy planning crap with the high school season, so I don't get a chance to follow it a whole lot. So.
Yeah. So, Bill, do you do anything this weekend? You check the results out down in Linton?
I did. I was able to follow that pretty closely. South Border really looked good. They won that tournament by I think close to 50 points, or maybe more than 50 points. There was some really good finals matches. Carrington ended up with 4 guys in the finals, 3 champs, with 8 guys in the tournament. They took second place, so that was positive. But we just don't have the numbers to be able to bang with some of those big guys, over and over. But there was one big match to me that kind of stood at 170 pounds. Hare from South Border was able to take a pretty close match, with Michael Clifton. So that was Michael's first loss of the year. So now he has something to work for. And there was a lot of really, really competitive brackets. That tournament, I suppose there was 28 or 30 teams there. So kind of those first rounds kind of go pretty quick, but after, they wrestle them back all the way to 9th place. So there's a lot of kids get a lot of matches. I think Henniger took 3rd. They had maybe 8 placers. I don't believe they had any champs, but that's one of those things where you start adding up the numbers and, you can score some points. So it looked like a pretty good tournament.
No, I was in Valley City, and I was impressed with some of the stuff that Lisbon has, but I think they have a few injuries yet on the upper side, still from football, so they were missing a couple kids. But no, they're pretty solid all the way through. But I tell you what, BHS to me is a notch above everybody, even the best in Class B. Just that much better conditioning, maybe a little more competition this year, and so when they did face somebody, and they never looked nervous about nothing. Impressed with Nolan back helping out their mark. I saw him helping out a couple of the younger wrestlers and him taking the assistant side, and saw him doing some coaching up to the side. So it was good to see him there.
Yeah, just to speak on that a little bit, he was out of the room pretty much completely last year. He kind of, but this year he came back. He's just wanting to get back and give back some more, and he's just phenomenal to have in the room. He's so everybody knows he's knowledgeable about sport. He's great with kids, and I would say, sometimes as a head coach, sometimes you get so intense with things, and your mind is so busy with all the nuts and bolts of the season and everything. The stress level increases, and sometimes the side of you that you don't want to come out comes out with kids. And I would say that with that piece of it removed, that stress level gone from him, to see how he deals with the kids and works with kids is really phenomenal. So it's just awesome to have him back part of the Demon family. Not that he was very too far removed, but it's really great to have him back with the staff.
Well, that is good. I've always liked Scotty a ton, and he's so knowledgeable. I always mention this when I'm around. I watch people a lot and I absorb, and I just was fascinated in watching him just take kids off to the side, and if it is just one little thing that he can improve, he sees things at a different level. I think too now that he's off to the side. Like you said, the focus is different, and
For sure.
and you can focus on those individual things. Definitely. How about you, Terry? What is the toughest part of your job as the whole coordinator, the coach, the whole thing? What would you say is the toughest part of your job?
Well, I think it's different with a national program. I mean, just because you have so much distance between everyone, right? And so many different personalities coming in, so many different philosophies coming in, and really, I think it's building the plan and keeping everyone united, right, towards that plan, and keeping everyone working together instead of working in their own direction. And especially, this year is a very challenging year because we come from 10 weights to 6 weight classes. Everything naturally gets more competitive and a little bit more tense, and the Olympic year brings that out anyways, right? And every quad, it's been the same, and this year is no different. And so that unity and keeping people working towards a plan, but still keeping their individual, needs intact, I think is the hardest thing. So communication, amongst not just my own staff, but our personal coaches out there, the club coaches, and different college programs. I mean, that becomes the biggest challenge for sure. And from an athlete perspective, really, it's just keeping people working forward, right? And not getting so rigid and so tense and things like that. And I'm just going to share a short story with you. We just had national team camp from the 6th to the 16th of December, getting ready for the U.S. Open. And we had 3 foreign teams in during that camp. And one of the last days of camp, we had matches. And we were doing matches, and I just didn't feel like we were really letting ourselves open up. And I went home from practice really bothered, and all night I was thinking about it. And when I went to bed, it was still on my mind. And so I woke up in the middle of the night. It's 1:30 in the morning. I wake up sweating, and I started thinking about Kaori Icho. And if you don't know Kaori Icho is the only person in the sport of wrestling that's won 4 Olympic gold medals from Japan. She won 10 world championships, and the only reason she didn't win more world championships in between those Olympics was she took a few years away from the world championships and just rested her body. But in 2012, she called, or the Japanese Federation called and asked if Kaori could come to the U.S. and train with us for 2 to 3 weeks. And it was 3 months before the Olympic Games, and I was really, I had to think about it for a little bit, and then I said, yeah, I'm 100% for it. And I said, who's coming with her? And they said, nobody, just herself. She is going to bring a friend that's going to be somewhat of a training partner, but really more of a close friend. And so she brought herself here, and I was telling the team this because I just didn't like what I was seeing from them and getting so rigid and being afraid of someone catching on to what they're doing and all of this. And Kaori came over here, and the first thing she said when she walked in the room was, she said, whatever you're going to do, I'm doing. Don't change anything. And she said, I'll just follow your routines, your drills, whatever you're doing, I'm in. And she really made herself vulnerable, and she really opened herself up to a hostile environment. She opened herself up to drills and techniques and routines that she wasn't familiar with, and she just put herself out there. And I talked to the team about, when you look back in your life and your career, you're going to look back at the hardest times, the most challenging times are going to be the ones with most growth. And here it is, 3 months before the Olympic Games, and Kaori comes over and just does whatever we do, right? And no coach to protect her, nobody to take her out of practices, nobody to sit and, she wasn't worried about anyone or anything. And I told the girls, I said, what do you think she was really doing? I said, she wasn't protecting anything. She wasn't holding on to anything. She actually was the opposite. I mean, she made herself completely vulnerable. And in doing so, I asked her, I sat down and talked to her, and I said, why are you really here? What's this? And she said, in Japan right now, nobody challenges me. And it's not that there aren't great wrestlers in Japan. It's just that she had such a big sister syndrome on those other athletes that they respected her too much to really challenge her and push her. And so she wanted to put herself in a position that everyone wanted to challenge her, and everyone wanted the best piece of her. And so she asked if she could come over to the U.S. and do that. And in the process, when she left there, she knew going into London that she was ready. She knew 100%. And I told the girls, I said, so many times we're so afraid of who's watching us, who's coaching us, who am I wrestling with, what are they figuring out, and really we're only hurting ourselves. And the only thing we're really saving is our ego, right? And Kaori came over and she just let it out, and she wasn't afraid to be humiliated. She wasn't afraid to be challenged. She wasn't afraid to get beat. But I said, do you think it was unselfish or selfish? I said, let me tell you, it was completely selfish. The only thing she was thinking about was Kaori Icho. It was for her own good. She wasn't worried about anyone else, right? It was to improve her and her situation and her confidence going into the games. And she got exactly that. And it was just really a message to our team, like, you can't go into the next 3 months leading into the Olympic trials trying to protect everything, because in the process you're really gonna not let yourself grow and not let yourself move forward. And I think they understood right away, right? And Kaori went on and won that Olympic Games and then another Olympic Games after that, right? And I said, I've been around Kaori at that time for 10 years. The first time she beat us in World Championships was 2002, right? And we'd beaten her in times, but never when it counted, never at the Worlds or the Olympics. And I said, I already had great respect for Kaori Icho, but in that 2 to 3 weeks when she was training with us, I gained ultimate respect for her because of what she was willing to do and the situation she was willing to put herself in, and there's no doubt that I said, she never won those things because she was some Goliath or just had so much better technique than everyone. She's done what she's done in the sport of wrestling because of her mindset. Right? It's not because of techniques. It's not because of strength and conditioning and this and that. Of course, you have to have that, but really, she's done things to the level she's done them because of her mindset and willing to grow and willing to put herself out there at most maybe inopportune times when most people are trying to build confidence. She's out there just wanting to know for sure that I'm ready to go. Mm-hmm. And I think that, so many kids, and I can't say maybe I was any different, but so many kids, if they can hear a message like that and understand what it is to grow and develop, you've got to be willing to fail. And you've got to be okay with failing, but you just fail forward, right? And, as kids get ready for their state championships and things like that, we tend to tighten up and hold back and not want to wrestle people that really challenge us instead of we should be doing names, right? And so, I just think it was a really good message that really, I said, I don't want to lose any more sleep over it. I mean, I'm already losing sleep, and I said, really, this is on all of you, right? I'm losing sleep because I don't think you're giving what you could give, and we can't move forward like this anymore. We have to change our mindset, and we have to move forward in a little bit different direction to get the most out of ourselves. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you.
No, Terry, you're so wise. You are. I tell you what, I've listened to lots of your stuff, Terry, and maybe if somebody taped you more often without you knowing, you say things that are unbelievable. Do you really, can you pick out a spot where, that mindset? I really like to get into the mindset aspect where your mindset in high school changed and your mindset in college changed, because, there's a place where you flip in life where, you have to get it done. It's like you put yourself up against a hard place and you got to bust through it, because a loss is a loss, but you better grow from it. I really believe that. And do you remember those hardest times in high school and college where you had to just find a new, inspiration, new mindset?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think at the high school level, it was definitely my freshman year of high school, right? And I went to the state tournament. It was on my neck. And, I believe I got beat out of the state tournament that year. I got beat twice. And it was hard. It was very hard. And being a twin, you're all scared, right? And Troy had some good success that year. He was second that year as a freshman. And I remember that, you have to own it. You have to own it, and you have to step up, and you have to do things a little bit different, right? And it doesn't mean that just because this year was unsuccessful from a winning standpoint at the state tournament, it couldn't be in the future, right? But I have to open myself up a little bit more to challenging myself, right? And so that was one. And then I think helped me in high school, and then at the college level, no doubt our freshman year, we both redshirted at Iowa, and then the second year we were there, I never made the team, right? And I remember I was towards the end of the year, and we were wrestling the University of Wisconsin at home, and Troy was sick in that dual meet. He wrestled anyways, but on the way up after the dual meet, or in between at the intermission after the 150-pound match, at the time that was after 5 weights, and we came upstairs, and Troy got sick at the bottom of the staircase going up to the wrestling room in Cover Rock Arena, and we're up there, and Gable's talking to the team, and he said, "Who got sick downstairs?" And Troy said, "It was me." And he said, "Well, why didn't you tell me you were sick?" And he said, "Because you weren't going to give my spot, I would have earned it." He said, "Well, you should have told me." And I said, "No, I earned that spot, And Gable looked around, and he looked around and he said, "Terry, go pick up your brothers." And so not only do I feel bad for the team, but now I'm at the bottom of the stairs at Cover Rock Arena picking up Troy's puke. And it was probably, I can talk about it now, but for years I never told the story, because it was so moving, so hard, and it was one of those points in your life where you kind of hit that rock bottom, and it was like, what, things got to change. I'm not going to be the people like for the rest of my life, and not that it changes. You still go through the same motions and the same things from day to day, but you do it with a little bit more purpose, right? And you do it with a little bit more intensity and a little bit more focus, and that's the difference between winning and losing. And a lot of those tight matches, it's not that something grand is going to come out of it. It's going to be a little bit more focus, a little bit more purpose, a little bit more intensity when you're doing what you are doing. And there's no promises. Right? I mean, there's no promises. I mean, you can do everything right, and it still may not work out. And that's just life, and that's what makes the sport so great. That's what makes winning those championships so great, is because you could do everything right. You have athletes that do everything right, and it just doesn't happen. And it's not that they haven't won; they've already won. Their character is already built. They're made into the people they are because of the struggle, right? And you don't need a medal around your neck to be a champion, right? But the pursuit of it has to be golden, right? The pursuit has to be golden, and so. But those 2 times were really, those did change my life. There's no doubt about it. Those 2 moments, I still get goosebumps when I'm talking about it. And they still move me to this day. Right? And so I don't want to ever lose them, right? I mean, you want to bottle those hard times up, right? And you want to bring them out when you need a little bit of a push from behind it. And so that's how I still use them.
Mm-hmm. So true.
Yeah.
So true. Any questions for him, Bill? We've ran our 50 minutes already. I could talk forever, Terry. You'd have to have you on again. I
got a plane to catch.
Yep. I got to get Troy on. I got to talk to him about his team sometime this year. Bill, any last questions, last comments?
Well, it's hard to follow up all the great stuff we've already had. The only thing I would say is this. I know you were there all weekend, and I'm sure you were really, really busy watching the women, and there were some great battles there. Did you get a chance to watch much of the men also? And if so, was there any performance that kind of stood out to you?
There was a lot of great performances, man. There were so many. I mean, Spencer Lee, how he dominated that weight. I mean, that was very tough coming in. I mean, that was pretty impressive, for a guy that's really been focusing on folk style for the last 2 years of his career, and now all of a sudden he jumps back into freestyle and dominance like he did. It was pretty impressive. I mean, Zilmer had a great comeback. He's down 10-2 to Colin Moore, and he comes back and beats him 10-10 right in the last 15 seconds of the match. It takes him down. He was down by 4, takes him down and turns him. I mean, really impressive just to stay in it mentally there. Right? And I think Massa really impressed me too.
Yeah,
beating
Lewis. Yeah, beat Lewis.
Yeah, beat Kelly Lewis, and so I mean those were pretty impressive wins, But definitely the men's freestyle right now, they have they're loaded. They have a lot of that Olympic trials is going to be very, very exciting.
Yeah, it'll be fire.
Definitely. So, how about you? You got anything left, Mark?
No, I'm good. I'm just looking forward to the weekend, Rumble on the Red, Christmas with family. So it'll be good.
You betcha. Oh, yeah. So Merry Christmas to you, Terry, and Merry Christmas to your family.
You guys as well.
You betcha. Well, I'm going to call it the night, guys. Awesome. Go over to Dakota Grappler, watch the videos. You can also go into YouTube anytime. We got lots of them from this year. Bill, I want to thank you again. Mark, thank you for coming on tonight, and Terry, of course. And that is what we'll call it, Christmas for everybody. Enjoy the wrestling season. Go out and promote your sport. That's what it's really about. Okay, guys. Have a great year. You betcha. Take care.
Everybody travel safe.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.